Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to this epic weight loss journey. This is week 33. Holy cow, we're already 33 weeks into my entire weight loss. And then let's see, it's day 118 of my carnivore journey that I started right in the middle of all this. And so far, it has just been an incredible journey. I've met so many awesome people, and we're going to dive right on in. Now, so far, this carnivore update has literally blown my mind. I've spent the last 3 or 4 days buckling down, doing as strict of carnivore as I can do. Now, normally I do a 90-10 eating principle, 90% meats and fats, 10% kind of whatever. This week, I narrowed that 10% way down under a lot of advice from the viewers, other people I've been talking to, and other carnivores that I come across. But anyhow, it's just been just wow. Just everything about this whole journey has been wow. And I appreciate every single one of you. And if you like videos like these, please subscribe to the channel and be sure to hit that like button and notification bell for my next upload. Comments are always appreciated, and that's how we learn and grow. So the big question is, did the big man, Big John, that's me, Big John, did I get down below 300 pounds before the end of the year? Well, we're going to answer that question here in today's video. Now, if any of you caught my live stream this week, you found out that, yeah, I gained some freaking weight. I hit a plateau. My scale decided it was going to turn into a Ouija board and do really weird things. It was showing something around like 310 or 311 pounds or something like that just a couple days ago, which was just blowing my mind because none of it really made sense. So whenever I hit some weird numbers on the scale, especially when I'm weighing in at specific times of day, which is usually right after I wake up and give my body a chance to rest, and I see these weird numbers, it makes me think. It's like, okay, well, what did I do? What did I do differently than I did the previous weeks? I didn't really do a whole lot differently. We did have Christmas. We did have, some stressful conversations about how we're going to afford to pay the bills and stuff like that. Work has been pretty sporadic. So I've been working weird hours, and a lot of times my normal schedule would be I get home around 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I wind up, I'll lay down for a little while, but I'm up about 11:30 a.m. and then I'll stay up and take care of some business, answer some messages on my phone, and send some emails and order some stuff that I might need for the house. And then it's, I'm back to bed by about 2:33 in the afternoon, and then I sleep a little bit longer, and then I usually get up about 6 o'clock, get ready to go to work, and then we're out trucking, hauling snow for the entirety of the night. Now, just having an interrupted sleep pattern such as that, where I'm not sleeping straight, a straight 8 hours, I believe that had something to do with my weight just bouncing back and forth on the scale. And it was becoming quite annoying because I'm right at that cusp where I'm trying to get down below 300 pounds, and I'm trying to catch that moment whenever it happens. So I'm weighing myself more often, which isn't exactly the greatest idea, because while I was doing that, it was really messing with my head. And this is why I don't recommend weighing yourself every single day. Now, for some people, it works for them, but for me and many other people, you get on the scale one day and you might see, 302.5 pounds, for instance, and then 3 or 4 days later, you're looking at the scale again and it's saying something crazy like 311 pounds. Well, yeah, so I scoured the internet and I started looking for answers for whatever this situation was. Now, the best thing I could come up with, and the information that I did find, was that it takes approximately 7 days of overeating over your calorie intake, which is approximately 2,000 calories. So you're looking at 7 days of 300 to 500 calories per day for that entire 7 days to gain 1 pound of body fat. And I definitely didn't go over my calorie intake for the week. So I had to start looking elsewhere. So the only thing I could really think of was I was gaining water for some reason. And there's many reasons that I could be retaining water. Well, for one, it's holidays, it's stressful, financial stress, trying to figure out how to pay the bills and stuff like that. So I was pretty darn certain that it wasn't fat gain at all. It was just water weight. And you can put on a lot of water weight in a couple of days. And then you can also take off a lot of water weight in a few days as well. I found that out when I was doing my fasting. That was incredible. I mean, 30 pounds in 5 days, that's a lot of water weight. And a little bit of fat loss in there, but just getting that taken care of is, 90% of the problem. Taking care of the water weight and the inflammation issues was the most important aspect to getting all this started, in my opinion. So with that in mind, I was trying to think of what I was doing differently. Now, there has to be, something a little different besides stress. Now, when I do work this particular schedule, it's not a normal daytime schedule most people have, or even a normal nighttime schedule where I'm always starting at the same time, always getting out at the same time, getting home for dinner at a specific time of day. So I was thinking about that, and I was also thinking about, well, what do I do when I'm awake that I'm not normally doing? And a lot of it came down to was my water intake. I wasn't drinking enough water. Now, normally I was drinking anywhere from 2 liters to 1 gallon of water per day. And that was actually, it's the weirdest oxymoron type situation I can think of when it comes to water and water weight and, edema type swelling, is that you actually have to drink more water and a little bit of electrolytes in there. Of course, that helps, always helps. And that helps alleviate the water retention. It just gets your kidneys going, it gets them active. It's like, all right, we got plenty of water here. We need to start pushing out all this excess water because there's, your kidneys and other bodily organs, they're just assuming that you're going to keep up with this water intake. So it's taking all the excess water and pushing it out. That's just my basic understanding of how things work. But all in all, this week of carnivore has been pretty darn decent. I've been doing great this week. I've been feeling okay. Now, like I've said in the past, the one thing that annoyed me right off the bat with carnivore is that it always makes me feel full, like really, really upset type of full. It gives me a stomach ache where I don't really feel like eating for 2 or 3 days. It's kind of like eating Thanksgiving dinner and you just went on a binge and ate everything that was there. That's kind of how I feel when I do 3 or 4 days of just solid meats, and that's it. Nothing else, just a lot of meats. And the nice thing about all this, I can honestly say I'm pooping great, guys. Everything's been flowing out the other end just fine. And there's something that's just extremely weird about it, because once in a while I feel like I'm constipated. I just feel like I'm constipated. I go to the bathroom pretty regularly after I get up, drink some coffee, and then it's just my normal routine. Well, some days I just sit there and I'm just like, well, nothing's going to happen. It's like, how annoying is that? And then all of a sudden, I might just, stretch or do something strange and like that. And then everything is just coming out. And I mean, it's like that weird poop you had when you were, 7 or 8 years old, and you look back and you're like, that just came out of me. How is that even possible? So yeah, it was one of those experiences. And, that's kind of nice when you actually can feel like you're cleaning out your colon, and everything just feels a whole lot lighter after that. But with carnivore and all the meats and stuff like that, I just feel full, not necessarily bloated, but like upset tummy type of full. This is why I tend to add in a little bit of extra vegetables, sometimes some fruits for carbs and stuff like that. And it just simply works for me. And that's just part of my 10%. So anyways, let's see what happened this week. Let's get my weigh in figured out, and hopefully we get some decent numbers for a change, because the last couple of days have not been great. Because last week I did gain a couple pounds. So yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed for some decent numbers this time. Time to go get on the scale again. Oh, what are you stopping for? Come on, let's go. Let's go. Daddy's got to go get weighed in again. No, Christmas tree's down. It's in a bag. That mess of toys is still there. So, all right, let's see what happens here. Let's get on the scale. That's not too shabby. Whoa, what? What just happened there? 298.2. Huh. All right, somebody figure that out for me. Well, all right, guys, there you have it. I am absolutely ecstatic with this week's weight loss. I just yeah, I'm almost kind of speechless. I don't even know what to say about that. 298, we're going to call it 298.3. I always choose the higher digit that pops up on the scale. So I know I said it was 298.2, but yeah, I always just bump it up a little bit. It's okay because this is a progressive thing. We're going to be losing weight as we go. We're going to continue to make healthier choices. We're going to continue to eat a lot more meat. I'm going to try to mix up the meats next week the best I can. I need to get to the store because I'm really down to my last bag of 80-20 burger patties that we buy from Costco. So I do need to pick up several more bags of those because I eat 4 of those a day on average. And I'm just one of those weird birds. I can eat the same exact thing every single day and I'm just fine. I look forward to it. I mean, even back when I was unhealthy and I was eating ramen noodles, I could literally just eat ramen noodles every single day when I got home. It was usually 2 packs of ramen noodles and I'd wreck it up with a little bit of extra soup or something just to have a little variety in there. But none of that was healthy. It was a bad idea. So I can take that same principle and I can apply it to meat products and just have the same repeat meals just over and over and over again. But I'm eating healthier at that time. Man, let's get on into the weight numbers here. Like I said, I'm just blown away. I was not expecting that at all. Because if any of you caught that live video, I mean, yeah, those numbers were way off compared to what I thought was going to happen. And I never expected this to happen before New Year's. I prayed for this, and it came. So, hey, good news. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just taking so long to get to the points here, but I'm so scatterbrained about all of this. So there's been a few, like type exercise challenges that are going on here in January. And I thought about participating in the push-up challenge. And now that I got down below 300 pounds with little to no exercise, I'm kind of looking forward to that. I mean, I want to go do push-ups right now, but we're in the middle of a video. Yeah, there's all kinds of other stuff that I want to do because I finally made my goal. It was bugging me. I was talking to a lot of people in the comments about it too. I was like, man, I just want to meet that goal. And I was even asking people's opinions, hey, do you think this is a realistic expectation, to want to lose, from 435 pounds down to below 300 pounds, with little to no exercise? Because once I hit that wall this week, I thought I was doomed. I was like, man, how am I going to pick up the pieces from this? I don't want to do a dramatic fast because I know I have a lot of experience with fasting. I have a lot of experience with, cutting weight, cutting and stuff like that from previous training that I had, many years ago, and also military training. If you guys are trained in the military, take that information and go back through, your thought process and try to recreate the situations when you were going through basic training, because those drill sergeants taught us a lot of stuff and a lot of useful things for that matter. But yeah, I was thinking definitely about trying to jump in on some of these exercise deals here for the month of January and connecting with other carnivores that are doing these things and hopefully comparing some notes and coming up with some other interesting topics to be talking about. But yeah, wow. Okay, last week I did gain a couple pounds. That was my plateau week. This week has been my plateau week, and we all know that plateaus happen and they're normal, and they happen for many reasons. But I didn't feel weird. I wasn't upset. I wasn't super hormonal. I was disappointed. But yeah, I gained a couple pounds last week, and we recovered that plus some this week. So yeah, last week my weigh-in there was 304.4 pounds. This week's weigh-in was 298.3 pounds. That is a total weekly weight loss of 6.1 pounds. So yeah, we're talking all water there. There is some fat loss, I'm sure, because I'm cold all the time. My body's constantly in ketosis. So we're just constantly chilly. And this has been the first winter up here in Alaska. I've been up here since about 2004 that I've actually worn multiple layers, because I've been so obese for so long, eating so unhealthy, that it's just crazy how warm I used to be. Even at the negative temperatures, I was warm. I would wear pretty much just this right here and be just fine, even with no shirt on underneath it or anything like that. It was just, even t-shirts at times at like -30 didn't affect me at all. But when I started this weight loss journey, I was 435 pounds. And now this week's weigh-in is 298.3 pounds. That is a total weight loss in 33 weeks of 136.7 pounds. Man, we are getting there quick. And it's almost too quick, but it's not too quick. But now I have a problem, and the problem is when I look at myself in the mirror, I don't see myself any skinnier. I notice it. It's like a how do you call that? Girls used to get this a lot in high school. They would see themselves in the mirror and they'd have some sort of dysphoria. You know, when they look at themselves, they don't see themselves as skinny and beautiful. And that's not what I see in the mirror. I see myself as the same fat guy that started this journey, because I've lost this weight pretty fast. We're just dropping down. We just keep coming down. And then once in a while we hit a bump in the road, but then I kind of recover pretty quickly. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a skinny guy. If I take a picture, like some of the pictures I have of my progress, I can see the progress there. I can see the guy and he looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the image. But when I look at myself in the mirror, it's kind of sad. And then especially if I'm sitting there on the toilet, that's my weakest spot to self-reflect on my body. Because when you're just sitting there on the toilet and you're doing your stuff and you're looking down, all you can see is the fat rolls. I got excess fat on the inside of my legs. Yeah, I got excess fat, you know, hanging up under here, which is quite annoying. And that's the stuff you see, you know, when you're sitting in those type of situations. And that bothers me. That bothers me a lot. And I'm having a hard time getting over that. My anxiety, my depression is getting better. My ability to speak with people and hold the conversation is definitely getting better. And that's what the live streams were doing for me. I practice for months and months, and I do this all day long when I'm driving my truck. As I sit there and I talk and I talk and I talk and I talk about, you know, stuff like this, like I'm talking to you guys right now. You know, I'm talking to you while I'm driving. I should just record the stuff while I'm in my truck, but it's incredibly noisy, and I'll have to do some samples of that, see if that actually works, because, you know, big trucks are loud. The radio is always going because, you know, there's communication between me and other drivers and the foreman and stuff like that. And it's just constantly a lot of chatter. So I don't know how that's going to work, because I'll be talking and then all of a sudden, brr, 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 and it's just like, what was I talking about? And I don't know if it's worth my effort or not to try to do that. But anyways, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Last week on Carnivore, let's see. It says I lost 30.6 pounds since I started Carnivore. That was 111 days where I lost 30.6 pounds. Let's see, we're 118 days since I started the carnivore type lifestyle, and I've had a hard time. If anybody's been following along, you already know I've been having a hard time with carnivore and trying to accomplish really good, solid weeks of 100% just meats and fats and butter, sardines, fish, whatever. Just trying to eat mainly meats and fats. It's been tough. It's not been an easy journey whatsoever when you put that in there. But even though it's considered like dirty carnivore or KetoVore, whatever label you want to put on it, I have gotten some serious benefits out of the amount of carnivore type principles I've been using. And they just blow my mind, because these things did not happen when I was practicing keto. These things did not happen when I was practicing like a vegetarian, vegan type lifestyle years ago. None of this happened. Everything was still the same scrambled brain. I still had a lot of carbs coming in, you know, from the vegetables or the fruits I was eating. I just wasn't eating animal products at that time. So it's just strange how much clarity I have now, that taking out all the high fructose corn syrup and all the sugars and carbohydrates and all the nonsense, you know, how much easier it is for me to think and communicate with others. That's a powerful thing right there. That never happened with keto or vegetarian or vegan type lifestyle for me. So I'm not saying it's not possible for those people, but it didn't work for me. But when I started 118 days ago of carnivore, my starting weight for carnivore was 335.6 pounds. This week's weigh-in was 298.3. That brings me down to 33.1 pounds lost while doing carnivore. That's freaking amazing numbers there. I mean, wow. Let me double check that, because I do have some notes here. I want to make sure I got that right. Let's see. No, that number's wrong. Wow. That brings me down to, I should have looked at this here instead, but it brings me down to 37.3 pounds while on carnivore. Good grief. I'm sorry. I didn't get my notes prepared ahead of time. I'm not exactly a well-seasoned YouTuber, and I'm not exactly trained on trying to make these videos. But that's 37.3 pounds. Wow, that's almost, we're getting close to 40 pounds of weight loss on carnivore. And it's just my opinion that carnivore isn't the best weight loss plan, but there is weight loss benefits there. I did find out something that if I start eating more meats, instead of just doing an OMAD type lifestyle, which is typical for me. So if I bring some meat type snacks, beef sticks, beef jerky, whatever, and I'm not going to overindulge in the fine details of basic ingredients because, yeah, I'm not to that point yet where I can pre-make all these meat snacks and just bring them with me for the day. And I'm also finding out some of my cheese options aren't the best either. So I'm going to try to update my cheese. My Tillamook cheese, that's just fine. But some of my mozzarella sticks, for instance, they're really don't have the fat content that I need. So they're made out of skim milk. I don't want skim milk. Not saying because some people do. But if I get a fattier type mozzarella cheese, if it's possible, I don't know, but that'll be a better cheese snack, and it'll help everything inside me work a lot better. Now that could have been an aspect to part of my weight gain as well, because I've been snacking the heck out of those mozzarella cheese sticks, and if they're not the right quality or the right content of fats, yeah, stuff's gonna start acting a little weird in there because you're just basically putting a blob of stuff in there that doesn't. Your body's having a hard time. Okay, what'd you do here? We need to figure this out. So I got this note here, and I've had it for a couple of weeks because I didn't know exactly how I wanted to talk about it. Positive and negative feedbacks and what it does to us. Now, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from you guys, and I love it. I appreciate every single bit of it, and it really keeps me going because sometimes when nobody's commenting, I'll just go back through the comments and reread some of them, and some of them are really, heartfelt and powerful statements made by you guys, and I take that into consideration when I'm responding to you. And sometimes I try to read your comment, and then I'll just sit there and think, am I in the right state of mind to respond exactly like I want to respond to you? So I'll take a few steps back for a little while. I might come back to it in about an hour, and once in a while I do lose a comment, and that breaks my heart because I'm trying to remember which video it came from and how I'm going to find it and stuff like that. But I'm learning the system. I don't know how all the buttons work and stuff like that. I'm just being as real as I can be here because, yeah, really, I wasn't doing much of anything on YouTube besides shopping videos and just some basic type videos that people make when they first start getting on YouTube. I was just figuring out what worked, what didn't work, and I look back at some of those videos and it's kind of embarrassing, but that's just part of the journey on YouTube. But the psychological aspects of, positive statements and stuff like that. Now, you can say a positive statement to a guy. Now, my nickname here in Alaska has always been either Big Man, Big John, the big guy. I've heard people call me the Big Show. A little kid at one of the banks when I was in line. This was many years ago. He's tugged on his mom's shirt and was like, "Is that the Big Show?" And if you don't know who the Big Show is, he's like one of those WWF or WWE type wrestlers, and he's a huge guy. I mean, he's really really well built, but he's a professional wrestler, and he's been doing that for many years. But sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes it hurts at the same time because you just don't know how people are going to take what you're saying, because it's just kind of weird. It's hard for me to explain. This is why I'm having a hard time spitting it out, because sometimes some of the positive stuff can actually have a negative effect. Like here's one that I was trying to come up with, and I'm trying to think about this as systematically as possible, because I know people can relate to this. When I'm a big guy, I'm 6'3", and I was over 300 and something pounds. Like I was bouncing around 300 pounds to 360 for a good many years. And a lot of people that would come up to me would say something like, man, you hold your weight well. You know, they'd ask me how much I weighed. I'd tell them, and they're like, whoa, you don't look like you weigh that much. Now, what I'm getting at here is that kind of reinforces me to stay at that particular weight, because now I'm getting compliments on my size. And I was a bouncer for a while. And, you know, when you walk into a bar and you look up and you see this big, huge guy towering over you, you know, you're typically going to, you know, try to make the most polite mention of the guy's size or stature, or how he looks, or something to that aspect. But I've been unhealthy. I was an unhealthy 300 and something pounds for many, many years. And it was just so hard to get out of that habit. Now, I was working out. I was going to the gym. I was lifting weights. I even spent a lot of time running on ellipticals and stuff like that. And that's one of my favorite machines, because there's little to no impact at all on my knees or my feet. Now, ever since I was a little kid, my feet have had high arches. Now, the high arches were a big problem. And I also had hammer toe going on there. And I don't know how it happened or whatever. You know, some people say, well, it's because you got the wrong size shoe and stuff like that. Now, I did manage to fix one of my hammer toes on a foot by using like a popsicle stick. I put a popsicle stick over the top of my hammer toe, and if you don't know what a hammer toe is, it kind of looks like that, but it's in your one of your little toes, and it's in your shoe, and the toe's kind of pointing down. But I took one of my good toes and my other good toe, and I just took the popsicle stick and I laid it right over the top of that hammer toe, and I did that for like, I think, a month or two, and I did it for, you know, a few hours every day to help stretch out the tendon, and it worked. And it worked on that one foot. My other toe is still kind of foobarred, but it's just one of those things. I've always had bad feet, so getting out and running was never any fun for me. I mean, even when I was in the military, we had 3 running classes, or, you know, groups when you start in the military in basic training. You have A group, which is the fastest runners out of everybody, and then you have B group, and then C group. I was in C group, and that's where I started, was in C group. But as time went on and I pushed myself further and further while I was going through basic training, I eventually got up to the point where I was in B. And, you know, basic training isn't that long, and we're pushing ourselves to our physical limits at that time. That was the healthiest I think I was ever in my entire life. And the reason I didn't stay that healthy for that long is because I didn't have the education around health to back up that type of behavior. I thought just all of that exercise alone was just good enough, because when we went to the mess hall, we weren't taught which foods to eat, which foods to stay away from. We were so physically active, they didn't care what we ate. Now, I could have stayed that way indefinitely knowing what I know now, but I didn't. So yeah, just learning the ins and outs of health is just super important. But throughout the process of running in the military, right before we completed basic training, we had a final run. It was some ridiculous amount of miles, and I opted to jump on the A group, and I took off with the pack like a rocket, and I stayed with the pack that entire time. That was huge. That's almost as huge as getting under 300 pounds with no exercise. I mean, or little to no exercise. I mean, I go to work. You guys might have seen that video that I made. It just gives you a basics of what I do up here hauling snow. Now, I do swing a sledgehammer. I do have to climb in and out of the truck, sometimes unhook stuff and load equipment, but it's really not a whole lot of just strenuous exercise over and over and over again. So yeah, it's just super great that I made that A team for the final week of being in basic training, and hopefully I can make that A team again. You know, that's what I'm looking forward to right now. Okay, we're going to breeze through some of my off-scale victories that I have this week. Now, I mentioned a couple of these in the live stream, and there's at least one new one in here that I was notified about, because I was talking with somebody else, and they brought up the fact that their skin tags were gone. Now, I had skin tags all through here. I mean, just all through here, and I had them, underneath my armpits and stuff like that. And they were in some pretty freaking annoying spots. If you've ever had skin tags, they're just, it is a sign of being, pre-diabetic. But luckily, I was never pre-diabetic. At least I was never diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes for that matter. So I dodged a bullet there. I dodged a really big bullet by not forcing myself into diabetes, which is totally possible. So let's just try to reverse this and stay away from diabetes for the rest of our lives, because we only got so long here to try to make an impact and help as many people as we can. But yeah, the skin tags are gone. That's super huge news. Another thing that I had noticed, and this was also somebody else brought this up, I have less earwax. Now, I had a problem with earwax for many, many years. It used to drive my ex-wife just out. Ugh. She used to think it was the most disgusting things. Even my kids would help me clean my ears. Embarrassing. But yeah, it was constantly, I was like digging out just globs and globs of earwax. And it was just, I don't have that anymore. And the reason I noticed it was also through conversation. But when you wear these earbuds that everybody has now, they kind of fit right up inside your ear. I noticed in the last 2 weeks, that maybe 3 weeks, I wasn't constantly cleaning off the earbuds. They were just always just packed full of just yuck. They were gross. But yeah, I haven't had to really clean those off like I was, weeks before that, throughout the summer, for instance. My sleep apnea has been improving dramatically. My numbers are amazing. And all these CPAP machines, they have a way of reading your approximate AHI levels, different types of AHIs and stuff like that. And everything that I have right now is like down to either 0.5 or 0.1 on the AHI scale, which is basically, you don't necessarily need it at that point. Now, I have to continue using it because I am a CDL driver, and if my doctor should ever call and say, hey, I need an update on what you're doing, I have to have the information on my machine to bring to my doctor so he can document whatever he needs to satisfy DOT inspections or whatever they need for compliance. So yeah, I continue using it. It's not horrible. I do use it a lot because for one, I needed it for a long period of time, and now it's really hard to not use it. And I took a nap over the weekend for about 4.5 hours, I believe, and it was just amazing. It was like, wow, I slept 4.5 hours, and I don't, because when you have sleep apnea, you wake up and your throat hurts, your chest is sore, your heart feels like it's been working too hard. You're suffocating when you got sleep apnea. And the majority of my apneas were obstructive because of this. I had a big giant jelly roll up underneath my neck right there. So when any pillow at all, you would lay down and your neck would just be, cutting off your airway, and sometimes your blood flow to the brain. What a mess. Sleep apnea, man. Yeah. I mean, the best advice I got for anybody suffering with sleep apnea is lose some weight. If you're obese, do your best to try to get down as much as possible, and that will help improve your numbers at minimum. Now, some people can look perfectly healthy and they have sleep apnea. I've seen cases where, kids 5 or 6 years old have major sleep apnea, and they look healthy, their necks are small, and they just have really, really bad apneas. And sometimes it's just the brain not sending the signal to tell your lungs to breathe at times. That's where I was. I was so bad. Even when I was awake, I would forget to breathe at times, which is scary enough. And then the heart palpitations on top of that. What a mess. I haven't had heart palpitations in a long time. And I'm super thankful because it feels, you don't know if you're having a heart attack. You don't know what a heart attack feels like unless you've actually had a heart attack. So when you start having your heart skipping beats, it's scary. It makes your anxiety go through the roof. It makes everything worse. And yeah, but overall, my sleep apnea has improved dramatically. So yeah, huge win. And we're going to contribute a lot of that to weight loss and carnivore, KetoVore, these type of eating principles all right here. And I mean, this is something to look forward to if you're just starting your weight loss journey. But let's see, what did I eat for the week? So this week I started off with 80/20 beef, and I did use some sliced onions. That was, and whatever seasonings. I have some seasonings over here, Redmond's seasonings that are just amazing. Redmond garlic salt, and it's like a Redmond seasoned salt. And the seasoned salt, oh, that's an amazing flavor right there on beef. Well, let me grab it. It's right next to me. So it's probably this one here. Okay, it's called organic seasoned salt from Redmond's. I don't know if I can get a good image of that, but this stuff, when it hits the air, you know, when you're cooking, it just hits the air and then it just wafts up in your face. It reminds me of the unhealthy ramen noodle package that you would dump into your ramen noodles. But this is healthier. I mean, wow, that's a win there. I mean, it's still got salt. It's got healthier salt. The seasonings are just amazing, especially added on top of meat. And I used this here just a couple days ago, and I did make a short video about that, but it was just like, yeah, that's a winner right there. I mean, I don't recommend products. I'm not sponsored by anybody. And if I were to recommend a product, it would be probably something like this. I mean, stuff that I use and stuff that I've enjoyed, I would recommend it because, you know, I look into these items and I see if they're good or bad. And I really break it down because I don't trust any product that has pictures of people in lab coats. Because when I was, you know, getting some sponsor offers and stuff like that, I was looking at, or even free offers for that matter. Not all of them were sponsor offers. They were offering me free type of supplements and stuff like that. And that's not my game plan here, is using supplements or promoting supplements of any kind, because, you know, I want to teach people how to do this on a budget, because the majority of us that are out trying to lose weight, you're not wealthy. You know, we're just like middle class, and we keep getting pushed down lower and lower with this crazy inflation and, you know, chronic, everything costs way too freaking much nowadays. So yeah, I try to promote how to do all of this, you know, with little to no money, and try to do it on a budget. You know, I buy my meat as inexpensively as possible. I'm not typically running out and buying these steaks. When I do, it's a special type day for me, you know, if I buy steaks at all, because I'm not going to waste the money on steaks when I can get by with 80-20 burger patties or 70-30 type ground beef. You know, we're Alaskan Native. We can go hunting and fishing. We got, you know, half a freezer full of wild caught salmon that my wife collected throughout the summer. And she does that every year. So, and we usually eat that throughout the winter. And then by springtime, you know, we're getting down to our last fillets. And then she goes out fishing again and brings home more fish. And then she hunts and does all this wonderful stuff to bring home, you know, new type foods. And yeah, she's great. She's been an awesome wife because she's active. And I need to be active too. I need to be active with her. So yeah, burger bowls, yeah, they're definitely some of my favorite things to make, because yeah, you can just take one of them little squares, toss it in a pan, and boom, you got dinner right there. I mean, if you want to add some onions or peppers, I mean, whatever, it's up to you. But yeah, I like to add a little bit of cheese. And this is also one of my go-tos right here. This is just 4 80-20 patties. I eat this until I'm full. Whatever's left over, I just put it in the fridge. I save it till later. And it just works. The cheese that's on here is Tillamook. You guys have finally convinced me to, you know, get away from the sauces and stuff like that. So, you know, this right here is perfect. If I want anything extra on these burgers, I'll put some butter on there. Salted or unsalted, doesn't matter. Unsalted's fine. You can always add more salt if you feel like you want more salt. And it's really not that bad of an idea, because you can actually pick your own salt. That way, if you want Himalayan pink salt, or if you want Celtic sea salt, yeah, I mean, that's good stuff. And there's plenty of salts out there that are pretty good that you can choose from. Just try to stay away from that regular table salt, in my opinion. But some of the other foods that I've been eating this week, I always eat hard-boiled eggs. Hard-boiled eggs are a staple in my fridge, and I try to have them readily available, especially if I get a craving for something crazy like sugars, or, and in this case, this week, you know, like I was craving some fruits. I always crave fruits, and I crave specific vegetables. So, and I tried to stay away from the majority of those this week. So I think the worst thing that I ate this week was, you know, on the vegetable side of things, is an onion. And that was in my beginning of the week burger bowl. But yeah, for the majority of the week, this is what I do, is I make 4 of these. Typically, I only eat about 2 of these in a sitting, and the other 2 are just pre-made, and I put those in a Tupperware, and I save those for later, because it's just so nice to have something pre-made. You could just come home, pop it in the microwave for a minute, minute 30, and you got something sitting in front of you and you can just snack on it or eat it until you figure out if there's something else you might want to eat later. Now, this week coming up, I do plan on going out and getting some different types of meats. Most likely, if I can find some more chuck roast at a decent price, I'm probably going to make up some of that. And yeah, if I can get some steaks at a decent price, I mean, which is hard to do here in Alaska because steaks are pretty expensive at times. And if you've been following any of the marketing that's going on lately, the price of steaks has just gone up through the roof. The price of meat, beef in general, is just going through the roof. So we have to like really watch for either sales or discounts or stuff like that. Now, meat is one of those items that has to move. So no matter what, if people aren't buying meat, the price of that meat is going to come down at some point, especially when it's getting closer towards its, end of shelf life or expiration date or sell by date and stuff like that. So sometimes you can get some great deals on some meat products, just before they're getting ready to, get rid of them. And that's not a bad thing. Now, if your meat does go bad, you can always just chop it up, cook it up, and feed it to your animals. And yeah, a lot of people aren't feeding meat to their animals. That's something I considered as well with my cats, because cats and dogs, they're not meant to be eating grains, just like we're not meant to be eating grains as a general rule. So a lot of these animals, they're not feeling good when we feed them like grain type foods. And you feed them a raw meat type diet, and the animals usually thrive and they live for a lot longer, and they also don't suffer from a lot of things like cancer and tumors and stuff like that. But anyways, I am totally stoked about this week's weight loss, and I really want to continue this video, but I really got to get this thing together. We do have to work tonight, so I'm incredibly busy. And yeah, man, I don't know what else to say except for carnivore is working for me, and it's working with my eating disorder. And my eating disorder is I like to eat everything I see. If I see a lot of something, I like to eat it. And the reason carnivore works for me is that when I see a lot of meat, yes, I can eat a lot of meat, but my brain tells me when to stop. My stomach tells me when to stop. I can't overeat meat. It's almost impossible for me to overeat meat. So it's just, yeah, it's got me excited. It's got me wanting to, promote more carnivore type education. It's got me in a situation where I want to learn more about carnivore, because when I started carnivore, I was not on board with carnivore at all. It was a suggestion from some people. It was something I knew about. I tried it many years ago and I failed miserably because I didn't know enough. And it's just like weight loss in general. I tried losing weight. I gained weight. I lost weight. I gained it. I was on a roller coaster. And the reason why this is working for me now is because I educated myself on basic nutrition, how things work, how important it is to avoid the majority of sugars out there, high fructose corn syrup, corn oil, seed oil, inflammatory products like that. I didn't know anything about that for so many years. And you think I would have. Now, it's been something that people have talked about, but it's not been something that clicked in my head. I mean, once you get rid of, it's all making sense now. 118 days into carnivore, every bit of this is making sense to me now. So when somebody brings up a topic and they start talking about something that I haven't heard of, I ask them questions. I try to figure it out. I try to figure out if I can relate to that or if it's something that I should look into a little bit deeper. And I take a lot of that into consideration. Because without studying how to fast, for instance, I don't think I would have completed that 5-day water fast. Or even if I did do a 5-day water fast, I would have done it under a stressful situation, and it wouldn't have actually given me the benefit that I was looking for. And this is why planning a fast, if you're going to do fasting, is super important. It gets your brain set up. You're setting the stage to start something, follow through with something, and have an end date. That's a fast right there. So you know when you're going to start, you know what you're going to do, and you know what you're going to finish. And then not just doing the fast, how you're coming out of the fast. You're not going to want to eat, run out and eat McDonald's or eat a pizza for that matter, because that's just going to really screw up your body, and you're going to have chronic diarrhea for the next 24 hours because you haven't, set up your gut to accept food because you went several days without food. And that was the one most powerful thing about that 5-day fast, is that I didn't realize that we could survive so long, so easily, without food, like constant food and constant snacking, because that's where I was before I started that fast. I was constantly eating. I was constantly wanting a snack. I was constantly in my truck driving around doing the hand to mouth, all day long. Like I had to have something in the passenger seat, or somewhere close by that I could grab, or a sugary drink, or a very expensive espresso type coffee that just doesn't do us much good. So yeah, it was just learn as much as you can, and if you don't know these things, oh, well, that's my work alarm. Yeah, that was for yesterday. I forgot to shut it off. But yeah, we just need to learn as much as we can. Learn when ketosis happens, learn why ketosis happens, learn when autophagy starts. And if you find this stuff out for yourself, it's going to click, it's going to stick. And then every day that we make a mistake, and I make mistakes all the time, and I am just human. We're not perfect. That's all part of this, is that we're not perfect. I don't expect anybody to be perfect. The ones that are claiming to be perfect, I don't believe you, because once in a while we'll put together a perfect week. But yeah, for perfect for a long time, it's hard to do. But always set your bar as high as you can, and hopefully you'll come out better as a result of that. So anyways, guys, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope to see you in the next one.
I didn't forget the kitties.